We are using Zoom today, and you'll notice that there's a chat function. I see that a lot of folks have already been introducing themselves and saying hello, so that's awesome. Keep on doing that. But there's also a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. So as our presenters are talking, please feel free to ask your questions in there. And you'll also see that there's an option to upvote those questions. So if you think someone else asked a stellar question and you want to make sure that that gets asked, go ahead and give that an upvote so we make sure that we can get those questions answered. And finally, if you have something that you've heard shared today that you thought was really interesting, really important, and you want to share that out into the social media universe, that would be awesome. And we would love if you would use the hashtag FridayBeFood and then tag us at Food of the North. All right, I think that is everything. So now let's begin our program, Food in a Time of COVID-19. So the COVID pandemic has changed our daily lives pretty dramatically. And of course, our own individual behavior changes have had dramatic impacts on our food community. Grocery stores are struggling to keep up with high demands, as well as to keep people safe while shopping and their workers safe while working. Restaurants have been ordered to close their doors and have had to quickly shift their services to delivery and takeout only. We know many workers have been laid off from their service-related food and beverage jobs. And with these layoffs, our food pantries are experiencing higher needs while simultaneously losing the bulk of their volunteer workforce due to the majority of those individuals being 65 or older. There is a lot going on, and these are just a few of the many immediate food needs we're seeing today. But of course, where there is crisis, there is also hope, inspiration, and opportunity. Many individuals are stepping up to support local and committing to make most of their purchases from local restaurants as much as possible. People are being extremely generous with their time and treasure to support our food bank and our food pantries. And the folks who work in grocery stores are being hailed as champions in the fight against this pandemic, finally being given the recognition for the great work and service they provide to our community. And if I could count the number of people I've been seeing sharing their love, excitement, and passion for gardening, food preservation, sourdough bread baking, and just doing great home cooking, it's really amazing to see. So with the dark, there is light. And today we're excited to talk about these needs and also the opportunities to strengthen our local food community amidst this pandemic. And we have three awesome local experts to share that. Nikki Berglund is the owner of Luna Fargo, Soul Ave Kitchen in Moorhead, and Bernie's Wine and Liquors. Nikki has been in the restaurant and beverage world for years and is a champion for local sourcing, sustainable dining, and building a delicious food culture in our region. Nancy Carriveau is the program director with the Great Plains Food Bank, and she has been an incredible advocate for also increasing local food in the food bank system, addressing the root causes of hunger, and strengthening relationships amongst an array of food bank partners. And finally, Noelle Harden is a health and nutrition educator with the University of Minnesota Extension. Noelle's interest and passion for sustainable farming, food networks, and food policy shapes much of the work she does to create a more sustainable, healthy food community. And with that, I am so happy to introduce our first speaker, Nikki Berglund. And just so you know, we have asked them all to set the stage for what life is like in their homes right now. We know that everyone is making things work in less than ideal conditions in this unique situation. So we want to be in this together, needy children and all. So Nikki, please go ahead.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me. I have a little bit of allergies, so I promise I'm not spreading sickness right now. I just have some allergies going on, but thanks for having me today, Megan. I am excited to talk about what we have going on in the restaurant business currently. Well, not that I'm excited about it, but I'm accepting of it. Whoops. Okay. Oops. Can you hear me now?
Hey, Nikki, we can hear you good. Go ahead.
All right, good. You shouldn't start with the least techie of the group probably here, but anyway, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to kind of talk about what we have going on and give you kind of the updates on the restaurant business and challenges we're facing. Life for me is right now super snowy. I haven't decided if I can actually get out today or not, but I'm sure I will make it in at some point today. So anyway, I just want to kind of talk a little bit about being in the restaurant business at this point in time. It's really being an essential business is turning out to be really a kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, we feel really fortunate that we can still at least generate a little bit of income and keep some of our staff working right now. On the other hand, that also provides us with the day-to-day challenge of being worried about the health of our staff, the health of ourselves. And so it really kind of presents this challenge of what to do on a day-to-day basis. So we have really kind of started this line of communication from the very beginning with all of our staff, from the restaurants to the liquor store, where we just kind of have put it kind of made it up to them. So we have let everybody know if we kind of started with the employees that were maybe had either like another source of income, or maybe a partner spouse that was working in another, excuse me, had a job that they were going to be able to sustain through this. So we kind of took those employees off payroll first, and then from there every day we just kind of check the temperature of our staff. And so far we've had, about an equal amount of staff that has asked to be temporarily laid off for unemployment. And then we also have a large portion of staff that has chosen to continue working through this. So for now, excuse me, I have allergies, I promise I'm not sick. For now, we just take it day by day. Every day we check on our staff to see if they are feeling comfortable still working. Of course, we always are really food safe, but now we have extra steps taken to ensure they're, kind of extra layer of kind of safety with all the wiping and the sanitizing. And even that doesn't really feel that healthy, but at least we're trying to stay safe. So. It's a hard challenge, and we've done a lot of things. We're basically now, restaurants are both open. We will close Soul Avenue at the end of the week. And that was based on, we have 2 employees left there currently, and we left the choice up to them, and they had decided that at the end of this week they would feel more comfortable closing it down. So, and we were basically just opening at that point to, in order to keep them employed. Like, it's a pretty much breaking even point. So for us, it's never about money at this point. It's just about keeping our staff, getting some sort of income. The problem with unemployment for tipped employees, if people aren't aware, is it's not exactly that pretty. So we've kind of been keeping a really close eye on stimulus package to see what is happening with that. And, if this unemployment thing with the $600 a week kind of comes through, then we will be really talking to our staff about whether maybe it's time for us to shut down just temporarily. It's been interesting. It's taught a lot of us in the restaurant business to quickly pivot, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it's also, it had to be done, as Megan was saying, very quickly. We all pivoted to takeout and delivery in about a day's time. And that for a restaurant like Luna is difficult because we do takeout, but we're not really geared towards takeout. We're a lot more dine-in friendly there. Soul Avenue is more of a takeout place, so that was not a hard choice. But, quickly Uber Eats was really helpful in getting us up and running there. Will we still do Uber Eats after it's done? Most likely not. It's just kind of an added element that we're not really interested in at Luna. So pivoting, gift cards online, that's been people have been so generous and kind to us. That's the great thing about the pandemic in Fargo is we've had a ton of support with gift cards. I had to learn how to do gift cards on my website, and that was something I'm still not sure I figured it out. So if you're not getting gift cards from us, I'm still working on it. So it's really kind of forced us to you know, really change our tune quickly. And, you know, a lot of my restaurant friends, we've gotten really we've always been supportive of each other in this community, but we've really kind of banded together. And I mean, I try to get takeout from other restaurants as much as possible. To me, it's so important that we continue to support our independent restaurants, you know, because otherwise we'll be just left with Olive Gardens of the world when all this is said and done. And that is just a really unfortunate thing that I don't, you know, want to see. You know, speaking of Thunder Coffee, I love how people on Facebook are always sharing, you know, different things that are kind of keeping the economy alive. Yesterday, Megan Lewis was talking about Cakes by Althea. She's doing like a home cookie kit, and you can go through the drive-thru at Thunder Coffee. So, you know, do a little cookie kit for your kids at home. So there's really all sorts of cool things that it's really forced us to kind of pivot into these, you know, these ways of thinking. You know, as far as what you can do, we started a GoFundMe campaign for our staff, which I haven't really been pushing too hard because we're not closed, but that we basically decided we chose what we thought was a charity that still really needed a lot of assistance, and that is the Great Plains Food Bank. And so we have kind of done like sort of a twist on the GoFundMe, where we will, every $50 that's donated, we will just give $5 right away to the Great Plains Food Bank, and then the other amount would go towards like 2 hours of volunteer labor from our staff. And we've told our staff, I mean, I've never done that before, so it's kind of a new territory, but basically if they want to participate, they can, and if they don't want to, they don't have to. So once we really start pushing it, we will, you know, encourage. And we still want to try to, if we're not working, I mean, I know Nancy will talk a little bit more on ways you can volunteer, but, you know, if people are going to be on unemployment for the next few months and not working, like if there are ways we can safely still help by volunteering, it's kind of the way I like to approach it. So I have no idea how much time I really have here, but, you know, one thing I've just found really interesting is I think it's when in times of crisis, I think it's really interesting to see how people respond. And, you know, we've just been so impressed by the way our community has bonded together. It's also an interesting study on people that don't respond well. And I don't feel like I need to touch too much on that. But, you know, the other day I heard of an example of an employer that was saying, why would I help my staff, you know, go through the unemployment process? And, you know, the answer is because that's the right thing to do. And, you know, and somebody else was saying, why should we tip during this time, you know, when the servers aren't even really serving us? And again, it's, you know, it's like that whole idea of, you know, our servers need tips more than ever. If you're ever going to be a really generous person, you know, now is really the time to do that. Yeah, so I don't know how much more time I have, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. But, you know, thank you to everybody that supported us, and keep supporting the local restaurants that do choose to stay open. Please know that it's never an easy choice. You know, to us, some of us will close down and some of us will stay open, and none of us are like, I mean, we're all limping by right now. And I don't say that as a poor me situation, but, you know, we're all basically hanging in there in order to provide, you know, with food, you know, and also just to keep our staff making some money while they still can. So I'm thinking things are going to get different here real quick. So we stay tuned. We'll see what happens, you know, next week, I guess. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nikki. And just a friendly reminder to everyone, the Q&A is open on the bottom. So as our speakers are talking, if you have any questions or things you would like to know about, we'll have our Q&A at the end of the program. For now, I am happy to turn it over to Nancy Carriveau with the Great Plains Food Bank.
Thanks, Megan. Can you guys hear me okay? Am I good?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So it was really great to hear Nikki talk first. I'm actually a former employee of Luna and friend of a lot of people that are both employed at Luna and at Soul Ave. And so if you can support them in any way, please do that. They're good friends of mine personally, and then good friends of the food bank. And we're so appreciative of what they're doing to support us as well. So my name is Nancy Carriveau, as Megan said, and I'm really, really thrilled that I'm able to be here with you all today for this virtual First Fridays. I don't know about the rest of you, but my ears are starting to hurt from so many virtual meetings and my earbuds in my ears, but it's great that we're able to have this way of connecting with everyone, even throughout this. So I am coming to you from my house today, as you can see. I had two little nuggets of mine that were gonna come and tell a couple jokes for everyone, but they decided that they didn't want to. So I have two kiddos here and my dog with me, and I'm just working from home today. At the food bank, we're all kind of doing a mix of working from home and also working from our office and our warehouse and the field, as we are very much an essential service during this time. And so we are working harder than we ever have worked. And so it's making sure that we're having a good mix of people working from home if they can, and understanding that our employees have families at home or maybe compromised immune systems. And so we're doing the best we can to make sure that we're able to accommodate everyone's work schedules and new work schedules, while also being busier than we've ever been, and making sure that we're getting everyone all the food out that we can. So as you can about imagine, with the onset of COVID-19, our workload and the way we work changed overnight at the food bank. We went from doing business as usual to completely changing our operations and the way we get our food out to our partners. We're really fortunate to be a part of a national network of food banks, Feeding America. So because we're a part of Feeding America, we have been able to get a lot of guidance and support from that national level on best practices and how other food banks that are a little bit ahead of us in this situation and how they've responded. And so it's really amazing to be able to have that community of support throughout this and to lean on each other for everything that we're doing while we're navigating this path right now. So I really want to just take a few minutes to talk. First, I'm going to talk about what our Great Plains Food Bank response is, where you're going to find us throughout the state, and then also how you can play a part, which is what Nikki kind of alluded to during her talk. So the Great Plains Food Bank, if you don't know already, we're the only food bank in North Dakota, and what we do is we supply all of North Dakota and support our food pantry network and other feeding programs across North Dakota and Clay County, Minnesota. We work with a network of over 200 food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters across North Dakota and Clay County, and then and we're helping make sure that there's food on the tables for our families all across that network. And so since COVID-19 has came up, the need has increased pretty dramatically. We're seeing at some of our distributions that we've done a 50% increase of what we've done before. Our pantries are calling us and telling us that they don't know that they're going to have enough food to do their distributions. Can they get more food from us, and things of that nature. So it's been really a game of really balancing to make sure that everyone has enough food right now, and to make sure that we still have food in 2 weeks for everyone at this point. So we know that, well, there was a need in North Dakota. We were serving 97,000 North Dakotans every year prior to COVID-19. And we know that need has increased. And now that people have been laid off and furloughed, and they have kids at home, and if their kids are anything like mine, they're eating all day long. So the need for food is really high right now. And people that have never had to use our services, our food pantry services, are seeking out this network right now to get that support. So every day, so since the change of how we're kind of operating once COVID-19 became a big part of what we're doing, we are working really closely with all of our food pantry partners across the state. So we have every corner of North Dakota, there's a food pantry, whether it's in Cavalier or Crosby or Amadon or Wahpeton, and everywhere in between, we have those food pantry partners that are supporting their local community. And we're really talking through what those changes to their operations have been, how we manage those food supplies, the general support to each other. So we're hosting weekly calls with our food pantry network, just because we know that we're all needing support right now. We're all needing to talk through what this looks like and what changes are, because everything is changing so incredibly rapid right now. So we're doing all we can to support them. A lot of our partners operate off of what we call a choice model. So that looks like if you were to go into a grocery store, we want to make going into a food pantry as close to a grocery store shopping experience as you can, eliminating the shame or the negative implications that might come along with going to a food pantry. And so we've really encouraged a lot of our partners to go that route. And with this COVID-19, we've changed that. So where we've been telling our partners for years, like, do this choice model and, you know, make it as easy as possible for people to get food, make them feel like they're in a grocery store. Now we're encouraging them to do pre-packed boxes. So many of our partners have changed to doing pre-packed boxes of food, non-perishable food items, coupled with a few different perishable items that they're distributing out the sides of their doors. They're doing drive-ups where people are driving up and getting food put in their cars for them. They're partnering together. So where one food pantry might not be able to meet the need in their community because they have primarily volunteers that are in that vulnerable population. They just don't have the capacity to meet the need right now. They're partnering together throughout their community with other food pantries. So it's been really great to see that connection of those pantries working together and saying, hey, let's pool our resources together and see how we can feed our community in a much better way, that which is allowing them to increase the days that they're open or the hours and meeting the needs of everyone. People are, we have pantries that are doing deliveries to help people get the food that aren't able to come out. So we've been really working through all those changes with our partners throughout the last couple weeks and how we can support them and how answering questions that they may have. And they're asking us, you know, they're saying, Nancy, Rachel, Anna, my staff that works with our food pantries, we need more food. Like, when can you get out here next? And we've really had to, where we've always really encouraged our partners to order lots and lots of food because we know our supply streams are, it's not that there's not the food, it's just getting the food right now. So whether it's through trucking or just getting the donated food, we're having to put some limits on what people can order in order to make sure that we can get food to all of our partners throughout the entire state. And that's a new thing that it's a change for us that we're doing right now. But we're working with them and hoping that we can, that we're all in this together and we're going to get through this together, and it's going to make us stronger. We know that it's going to make us stronger, and we've had partners that are working so well together and working to collaborate throughout their communities. So while we know a lot of our partners have had to make really hard choices of whether to stay open or not, we've been encouraging them as much as possible to stay open if they can, because we know that at the food bank, we can't meet this critical and growing need across our service area by ourselves. We need them to help us do that. And so how can we support them to do that right now? So if you're in a community, maybe if it's whether it's in the Fargo Moorhead area, Bismarck, or one of our rural areas, tuning in today, if you are able to help your local food pantry, if they're needing, whether it's needing volunteers or needing funds, that would be an incredible way that you can support your local food pantry. So where our food pantries aren't, so we have some areas throughout the state that maybe doesn't have a food pantry or they don't have a very big pantry that's able to meet the whole need. So we have our direct service programs where we bring out foods and do mobile food distributions. And we've seen dramatic increases in those as well. We're going out still and doing all of those distributions, but just like we're encouraging with our pantries, we've increased sanitation. So everybody's wearing gloves. We're washing and sanitizing our hands. Folks are, we're social distancing everyone so that they're that 6 feet apart for those distributions, changing the way we have our volunteers interact with our clients. But the great thing is that we've operated our mobile food distributions off of a drive-through for a very long time, be it because it just helps with streamlining and making things move fast. And with our really harsh winters that we sometimes have, we do a drive-through method. And across the nation with our Feeding America network, that's not so much the case. And a lot of those food banks have now modeled their direct service mobile food pantries off of our model of how we do the drive-through. So it felt good that that wasn't a major change we had to make. We were already doing that, and we will continue to do that. So we have not cut down on any of our distributions. We've increased our distributions and the food that we're putting out to our communities more than ever right now. We also have our childhood hunger program. So we're doing backpacks and school pantries across the state. And we've seen we're continuing to get food out to those programs. And it's amazing to have the school partnerships that we have and these schools that are making sure that they're still getting backpacks to those kids on the weekends, because we know that there's still such a high need, and if not more. So to see those those backpacks go out, and our school pantries across the state are working to get boxes together that they're sending home with those meals on Friday also. So that's been amazing to see that, and to see that they're still able to be operating even when they have a long list of other things that they have for priorities as well, that they're really prioritizing getting that food out. And we know that with the surge in layoffs and the furloughs, kind of like Nikki had talked about, there's so many people that have been laid off right now. The work we do with SNAP has been really vital. Our SNAP staff have seen a dramatic increase in calls. So we have SNAP staff that assist families with applying for SNAP benefits. So they walk them through the whole process of the application, answer questions, make sure that they have all their documents that they'll need for that, and then get them set up for the interview that they will have with their county worker. So we know that these families have been put in impossible situations and have never maybe had to apply for SNAP. And we're really encouraging people to do that, that if you didn't qualify for SNAP in the past, you probably will now. So let us help you apply for that. And the other great thing about SNAP is that not only does it help our families in need, but it's also a way to help boost that economy and help put dollars into that grocery store sector even more. So I think there will be a link. Yep, there it is. There's a link to SNAP and our Great Plains Food Bank COVID response. So that has all of our information that we have been sharing throughout our network and with the community. If you need to get signed up for SNAP, or you know someone that needs to get signed up for SNAP, there's a link there, and you can just contact our staff and they will help you walk through that. They're so happy to be able to do that. And so I just want to end with talking about how you can help and what role you can play in this. So like Nikki said, we have some really incredible community support of whether it's businesses or organizations that are helping to send their employees out to volunteer with us. We need more volunteers more than ever now. And we are taking really safe precautions with social distancing and sanitation. After every single group that comes in, we're sanitizing our volunteer center. We're doing social distancing and allowing smaller groups to come in and volunteer with us. We're making sure that everyone between staff and volunteers are safe and able to get the food out that we still need. We're packing pre-packed boxes with non-perishable food items. We're repacking produce. We're doing all sorts of great repacking projects in our volunteer center at our warehouse in Fargo. And like I said, if you're in any other area of North Dakota or Clay County and not near our distribution center in Fargo, please reach out to your local food pantry and see if there's a way you can support them as well, because they might need backup volunteers. You know, they might have a good amount of volunteers now, but we're encouraging them to have some backups just in case if someone does get sick, or rotating them out. So reach out to your community partners in that area. We encourage you to share our social media posts and follow Great Plains Food Bank on Facebook. We are posting about SNAP. We are posting about our distributions. We're posting about new information that's coming out. So share that with your family and friends if you think they might need to get signed up for SNAP or that they could qualify, where our distributions are. We encourage you to do that. And then if you are able to, we would love for you to host a virtual food drive. So you can see that link as well. They'll post for a virtual food drive. And that's just a way to raise funds. And for every dollar that is donated, we can get 3 meals out of that. So we're able to stretch that dollar and purchase food or use it towards our operating to stretch that dollar. So we would love for you to be able to host a virtual food drive if you can, or donate whatever you can. If you can donate $1, that's amazing. If you can donate more than that, that's great too. We are so grateful for anything. And right now, we have a $500,000 goal that we've placed to meet the needs of COVID-19. So we're raising funds through individuals, through our funding partners across the state and our region, and to increase our distributions, to help with our operations, and to make sure that we can get food out to all of our families in need right now, because there's such a growing need, and there will be even more over the next few months. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We have a lot of questions that came in for you, and we'll get to those at the conclusion of our program. Some of those links that Nancy referenced, just so you all know, they're in the chat function. So if you want to find any of those, feel free to look over there. But now I'll turn it over to our final panelist, Noelle Harden from the University of Minnesota Extension.
Hi, everyone. It is wonderful to be here with all of you this morning. First of all, I just want to say kudos and thank you so much to Nancy and Nikki. You both are doing incredible work right now, really on the front lines of our community's food system. And I am just so grateful, as I know everybody on the call is today, for your work. And also thank you, Megan, Annie, and Gia, for just taking a deep dive and being willing to jump into a new way of gathering. I am really honored to be here. I'm a little bit nervous, I'll admit. I'm a regular attendee of First Fridays, and much prefer to be sitting out in the audience. But I'm really happy that I know so many of you who are joining today. If folks are still able to keep posting in the chat, I'd love to see who's here and to just get some love in the chat. So please keep on sending your questions and saying hello. So I am personally extremely passionate about the food system, growing food, and helping our community be fed. You may have noticed in my photo that there is a little bunny rabbit. I raise rabbits here in Moorhead. I have a garage full. I also have a little guy, Barry. We made it through our 2 weeks of quarantine without killing each other. So he's now at his dad's house. But I'll just give a shout out to all the parents who are coping with so much right now and still managing to stay engaged in our community food work. It's really great. Hey, Robin. Hey, Megan. Hey, Nola. I'm so glad to see some friends who are joining us today. That's awesome. So my day job is to work with the University of Minnesota Extension. I am a food system practitioner, and working with Extension means that my job overall is to connect university resources and to be a bridge with communities across Minnesota. So I am really excited to be able to be here to talk about that today, and specifically some of the work happening with Cass Clay Food Partners. But before I jump into some of the local work, I just wanted to give a little bit of context, what's happening nationally around food systems. So I actually, about 3 weeks ago, when things were really starting to blow up with COVID-19 in the United States, I was in New Orleans, of all places, attending a national conference with other people around the country who are working on improving local and regional food supply chains and getting healthy, sustainably raised foods out to school districts and communities across the country. So as you can imagine, there was just a flurry of conversation happening between attendees at the conference. People who were getting notifications left and right that they were losing orders from school districts, losing orders from restaurants, concerns from the growers that they're working with. And so I really was kind of in the thick of it as things were happening with COVID-19 and schools were closing, restaurants were closing. I just want to echo something that Nancy was saying, which is that our food supply is strong. There is plenty of food in the country, in our communities, but there are vulnerabilities across that system as far as the distribution of the food, and increasingly, I think that we're going to see labor shortages everywhere from the people who harvest our food to the people who are driving trucks and people working in catering, restaurants, again, those who are at the front lines of our food supply chain. Undocumented farm workers is a major issue. People who, don't have any safety net whatsoever if they are getting sick from coronavirus or trying to take care of their families as we're all grappling with these major changes in our day-to-day lives. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. Also, our alternative distribution models, things like food hubs, are extremely vulnerable with the numbers of orders that they're losing and the risk of customers who may never come back to those parts of the supply chain. And in all of this, let's not lose sight of our local growers and local farmers markets. They are going to play and already are playing an incredibly important piece. Shout out to Hughes Gardens, Bjorn Solberg, one of our regular attendees here at First Fridays. He dropped off a bag of potatoes on my front porch a couple weeks ago. And that's just one of many, many examples of how our local farmers are stepping up to help our food system become less centralized. And that is a major takeaway that many of us working on food systems right now are having is, we have a wonderfully efficient system that gets us food at a very low cost, but it also is very weak in many ways because we have these major points of centralization that are vulnerable in a time like this. So we're also, this has already been addressed pretty well by Nancy, but we're looking at major changes in food access and distribution models, the mobilization of online ordering systems and decentralized delivery systems, the modification of emergency food programs, including taking a look at federal programs, and how we can make those more flexible so that they're meeting more people who need those resources. We also need to be paying attention to the deepening inequities. Our food system already is full of inequities in income and who bears the burden of feeding people. And we are seeing those deepen. So in particular, thinking about people who are homebound right now, people who have diabetes and are very at risk for complications from COVID-19. Undocumented food chain workers, and people who have disparities in access to other services, for example, the internet. There are so many different resources flying across the internet right now for folks, being able to submit a form online, apply for SNAP, things like that. But if you are not connected, you are being left behind in a lot of these efforts right now. And of course, food safety is top of mind in all of this. And there are a lot of points of tension between how do we get more food to people more quickly and ensure that it's safe, not just from the potential of COVID-19, which has not been shown to be transmitted through food or food packaging, but also thinking about not putting ourselves at risk for foodborne illnesses as we're making adaptations to delivery systems and rethinking how food is moving throughout that chain. So there is obviously a lot to be worried about, but there are so many things that are giving me hope right now. Nationally, the conversation about food resilience has been elevated in a way that is absolutely astounding to those of us who work day to day on these kinds of issues. There are new connections that are being made. Every single day, I am getting new emails and calls from people who want to help and have ideas about how to do that. This increased social consciousness is increasing all of our collective power. And policymakers at all levels are listening. Locally, at the state level, and federally, this is a great time to be in touch with your congressperson and let them know that you care about these kinds of issues. For example, increasing SNAP benefits and allowing those to be used through online ordering platforms is one example. Okay, so our food network, Cass-Clay Food Partners, I know that there are several of our steering members on the call. I'll give a shout out to Kim Lepetsky, who's my co-chair of the Cass-Clay Food Partners. We're a network of people like me who work on food systems here in town, and we have been really thinking about a lot of different ways that we can mobilize our network. This is kind of a golden age of networks that we all live in. I know that all of us are turning to our networks in new ways, whether it's checking in with a neighbor to see if they need food, helping a friend apply for SNAP benefits. And so our network is no exception to that. We have been first starting with just compiling information and sharing that information. Megan posted a link in the chat to our community food resources list that we've been sharing for a couple weeks now. It's a Google Doc. If you have a free Google account, you can access it and anybody can add to that. And thank you, Kim. She just posted a link to more information about Cass-Clay Food Partners. We also are sharing information through our social media platform, We have been doing updates through Facebook Live. Our next one will be at noon today. And we'll be talking a little more in depth about how people can apply for programs like SNAP and WIC. So that's happening at noon today, and will be happening every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. And you can check that out on our Facebook page. And I'm sure that page will be linked in the chat in just a moment here. We also are looking at how we can bring folks together, particularly our Cass Clay Food Commission. This is a space where food system professionals like myself connect with local policymakers. I see that Sarah Watson-Curry is on the call. Hi, Sarah. She is our representative from the city of Moorhead that serves on that commission. And what we do is look at a range of different food policy related issues and how local government can take action on those issues. I'll post a link, or somebody will beat me to it, to show some of the different policy issues that we've looked at as a network. But this is absolutely a time for us to be thinking about the role that we can all play individually to advance our own food sovereignty, whether it's planting a garden, whether it's taking a look at how we can increase the amount of food production that's happening locally through policy changes, whether it's volunteering at a food shelf or food bank. There are so many things that we all can be doing right now. I have a lot of hope. I think that as unfortunate as this crisis is, it's giving us a platform that a lot of us have never had before, and it's extremely, extremely exciting. I think that we can kind of emerge from the ashes of this with a greater ability to redesign the kind of food system that we all want to have. So I would like to just end by asking all of you, what does it mean to you to have a resilient food system? What kinds of changes do you want to see here locally in the Fargo-Moorhead area? Maybe you want to start raising chickens. Maybe you want to know about what kinds of pesticides and herbicides are being applied on public land so that we can know whether or not those pieces of land can be used for gardening and urban farming. So I would absolutely love to hear. You can use the chat. You can reach out to our network through Facebook. You can Google me and find my contact information really easily. But I would absolutely love to hear what kinds of ideas, what you're thinking about, and what's giving you hope right now as we all think collectively about what we can do to create a better food system moving forward. So thank all of you so much for the work that you're doing, and I can't wait to hear your ideas.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Noelle. Thank you to all of our wonderful presenters today. So much good information. And I think it's really comforting to know that we have these extremely talented, passionate people who are on the front lines of doing this work in our community. So thank you so much. So now is the point in our program where we're going to jump into Q&A. We have about 15 minutes left where you can ask questions. And we've already got a number of wonderful questions in the queue right now. So I'm just going to go through those questions and ask those, but continue to feel free to keep typing them in. And again, if you want to make sure that one gets pushed up to the top, give that an upvote so we can go through them in order. But our first question comes from Hannah, and it is for the Great Plains Food Bank. What are some of the staple foods you are currently stocking up on for distribution, and has this changed in the time of the COVID quarantine?
Yeah, thanks, Hannah, for that question. I appreciate that. Can you hear me okay, Megan? Am I good? Okay.
Yeah.
So during this time of quarantine, it's interesting because we've really, in the last few years, while we always need our non-perishable food items and they're a staple of the work we've done for decades now, we've really pushed towards some non-perishable foods, really trying to increase produce and dairy and protein and things like that. And during this time, we are in need of more non-perishable food items. So the great thing is if people are able to donate funds through a food and funds drive or right through our website, we're able to use our dollars to then secure more food. We're having to purchase food more than we've had to before so that we can get key items like proteins, canned meats, meal items to create meals, things that are easily able to create meals that might happen for people, or that our people are able to have, and grains, excuse me, like oatmeal and cereals and rice and pasta and things that can last on people's shelves for a while, and that we can also help them to easily create these meals. So if you're wanting to donate, you can donate either right to your local food pantry. You can donate to the food bank. We operate a lot off of bulk. So if we get bulk items like pallets or truckloads of items, then we're able to put that on our online ordering system for our network throughout our network of food pantries throughout the state. But if we get items from individuals that do that, what we do is we take that and we create like food drive boxes that our food pantry partners are able to order from us. So we welcome donations. We are still accepting donations. Our food pantries, we're encouraging them to all accept donations still. Every single one is a little bit different of how they're operating. But so please, if you have donations, we do welcome them. We just have a little bit different intake right now, but you can reach out to us or stop by.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question comes from Peter, and I think this might be maybe Noelle, a question for Noelle. Is there a central list of local farmers that we can support right now?
Yeah, that's a really great question, excuse me. There are a couple of different resources on the Minnesota side of the river. The state of Minnesota maintains a directory called Minnesota Grown, which includes some of the growers from our local Fargo-Moorhead area. I would recommend, and Megan, you might know more about this, but reaching out to some of our local farmers markets to see if they might be able to connect you directly with some of the growers. Megan is putting a list right now from the Red River of vendors, the Red River Market. I think that would be a really excellent place to start for that. And we've started to add a little bit on that to our community food resource list. As I saw your question, I thought I should make a new section of that to start to share who currently has products to sell, because I know there are a few, like Family Roots Farm. I know Jen is on the call, and others who do have product right now that you can buy. So thanks for that question.
And as Noelle mentioned, I shared a couple links in the comments section. One is all the produce vendors who sell at the Red River Market, which touches on both sides of the river. And then also the North Dakota Department of Agriculture has a local foods directory too, where you can connect with some of the producers on there. And we'll be sure to, Noelle, if you want to pop in the link on the Minnesota side in there as well, that would be awesome. Our next question is for Nikki. What is the best way to support our local restaurants right now while they are closed?
Let's see. Am I good? Can you hear me? I'm good?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. For now, I would say, I think the next month is about to get pretty crazy in terms of, as the shelter in place there's a shelter in place in Minnesota right now, and we've definitely seen the restaurant business go down, which will be a perfect kind of point for us to decide to shut things down. When I talk to my other local restaurant friends, a lot of them have kind of the same idea. So I guess my first suggestion would be, if you are planning to dine out, now might be the time to do it. Or like takeout or delivery, this would probably be the time, because I don't think a lot of us will be continuing to do this for much longer. Also, I know it keeps being said for any business, but gift cards, gift cards are really something that you can do now, and but also something that you can use later, and that works really nice. It kind of infuses this cash for all of us when we need it most. And then one thing I forgot to touch on is Noreen Thomas is one of my local farmers that we use, of Doubting Thomas Farms, and she I asked her, like, how is she doing during this time, because obviously the farmers are greatly affected, as Noelle touched on. And one thing she had mentioned is that the CSAs people are kind of thinking more immediately right now. And so she said she's seen a decrease in people signing up for CSAs. So, I think that is a way that we all can, if you're planning to do a CSA anyway, this would be maybe a good time to, be buying that and signing up for those as well. And then, donate to our GoFundMe's, not just mine. There's a ton of them out there. you know, a lot of, in our industry, it's for the tipped employees because they are, you know, definitely a part of the vulnerable population that's going to be greatly affected by this. And yeah, I mean, that's about all I can say, you know. Be kind and patient to everybody that you encounter. You know, if you're not having, you know, if you have an issue with your delivery from any restaurant, you know, maybe be a little kinder than you normally would be. A suggestion that people always say is, you know, maybe now is not the time to leave a bad like Yelp review, or not that, you know, I'm hoping that we don't get them anyway, but you know, now would really not be that time to do that. So other than that, yeah, just hang in there, and we're gonna get through this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I'll quick this question too, since it's directed to you, Nikki. Will Soul Ave Kitchen be open this weekend? Hashtag Morehead Proud.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. I saw that. Yes, we're this weekend will be Saturday. Will be our last day, so we'll be done after that.
All right, get your Soul Ave fixed this weekend, guys. I guess this question might be directed across all of you. From Chris Olson. What can food suppliers do to help besides just donations? So I'm thinking food suppliers or some of those like Cisco, US Foods. What could those folks be doing right now to address some of the needs in our food community? And I'll open it up to any of you that have a thought on that.
I can share a little bit. So we have good relationships with our food suppliers that donate to us on a regular basis, whether it's Cisco, US Foods, Super Value, Spartan Nash. We're getting our regular donations from them as they have in the past, but we're also having conversations, and this is not a reality for us right now, and it's just been parts of conversations. But we have one of our food distributors that had mentioned like, hey, can we, if we have to lay off our workers because we don't have as many orders going out and trucks going out, could we still pay them and have them drive truck for you and help distribute food? So we're looking at all sorts of unique opportunities that maybe we could, if it's a way that we can help get more food through our system, things like that are fantastic. And again, it's not a reality of what we're doing right now, but it's all things that we're looking to in the future here as we continue to navigate this path. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome to see that shifting of the workforce to where the need might be. I love that. Nikki or Noelle, do you have any other feedback on that food supplier side? No? All right. Nikki, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna say, no. I mean, we've found, like, we work with Reinhardt a lot, and she's been very supportive. You know, like they've been really great about kind of spreading out billing and things of that nature, which are kind of important. But yeah, no, I don't really have anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great too, to think about having that grace in this time right now to help these restaurants and those impacted managing their billing as well. So great. I guess this, Nancy, you already kind of addressed this in terms of the increases that you've seen since this crisis started. I know you talked a little bit about some of the specific food needs. I'm guessing at this point you don't have, you said that the Great Plains Food Bank services 97,000 people. Do you have any sense of the magnitude of percentages of increase that you've seen in some places?
Yeah, I looked a little bit. We've heard just, you know, through some stories from our partners, but then at our specific distributions we've done throughout the state, and we've done them all over so far in all different corners. And we've seen at some of those really a 50% increase. So where we're used to doing 50 households, we're doing 100 households instead. And so that's a pretty large jump for us. To see that, you know, usually it goes up by, we can pretty much gauge what's going to happen when we go to this distribution. If we've been to that community before, we know we're consistently going to do 60 households. So to see it go up that dramatically is a pretty big change. So we're suspecting that after we start to get in some information from some of our partners, that it's going to be similar to that.
Awesome, thank you. This next question comes from Megan Lewis. As a community, is there a specific resource that we can use to help out others who are in need or foods insecure? I would love to know specific places that are in need of extra help at this time. With the growing need for food, what are some specific foods that you and other food pantries are in need of? And maybe I'll start with Noelle with the work that you've been doing with that food resource guide, and then maybe shift it over to Nancy.
Sure. Yeah, so like Everyone, when things were starting to get kind of crazy, I felt really overwhelmed with the number of alerts coming through social media, in terms of what schools were doing, what food shelves were doing. So we, as a network, started compiling those resources. That link has been shared, and I'm happy to share it again. And then also using our Facebook Live platform to try and share, these are what we've heard in the last couple of days as far as food shelves that are in most need of volunteers. And of course, Nancy and her team have been doing a great job of getting that information out and having calls with the food shelves. And we've been kind of mining that for information that we can include in our resource list.
Awesome. Nancy, do you have anything to add on that end?
Yeah, I would say that, every single one of our partners is kind of changing daily on what their needs are. So some of our food pantry partners that we work with might have a need for volunteers right now. But I would say the best way to support these is, like for us, we're upping our volunteers again. So if folks can volunteer and you're healthy and you're well and you're able to do that, we would love that. You can see that on our webpage. And then also, because that will help us be able to get our food out more efficiently. But I would say if you want, I've had different community partners that have reached out to me to want to support. I had someone say that they wanted to provide meals for someone. And so we set them up with our local shelter and they provided 65 hot meals for that shelter. And they were so grateful because that meant one less meal that they were going to have to prepare. So I would say I don't have any specific places to say right now because I haven't heard from a lot of our, like if we were to think like Fargo more had pantries in the last couple of days of like, yes, we need volunteers. No, we don't need volunteers. But if you want to reach out to myself, I'll put my information below, or even just our general contact. We can get folks connected with the right place of where you can support whatever community you might be in at that point. So.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So we are coming up real close to 9 o'clock. And I just want to again thank our wonderful presenters today for sharing this super important information. And we know how crazy busy you guys are. So thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time. We usually always end every first Friday asking each of our presenters to support you. And I know that you all have shared that, but if you each want to just take a moment to just share a final parting thought, a takeaway that you want people to walk away with related to what we heard from you today. If I could start with Nikki, just a quick little inspiration guide to walk away today.
Yeah, I guess what's really most interesting to me during this time is just seeing how people react in crisis and how they treat their fellow human beings. And so, I mean, I guess just my biggest takeaway is it's just a really good time to, just check yourself and check how you treat your employees and your friends and your customers and the person at Target and the person at the grocery store and the takeout, the server. I just think it's a really great time. It kind of really brings out people's true colors during this time. And I've been really pleasantly surprised to see what a great community we live in. So I feel really hopeful and I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But, during this time now more than ever is a time to just be kind and, patient to your fellow humans.
Yes, we are all in this together. Be kind. Thank you, Nikki. Nancy, any final thoughts?
Yeah. So I would say that, it's been echoed through the panelists this morning that it's incredible to see that in this time of crisis and to see, I've seen people that have been laid off themselves and aren't working, but they're still saying, how can I help? Like they might be in crisis situation themselves, but they're saying, what can we do to help? Can I come volunteer? Can I do a virtual food drive? So if you have a way that you can help, even if it's from your house, whether it's hosting a virtual food drive or doing a volunteering, and then just checking in with each other. I think it's really important to know who do you know that maybe was laid off and how can you gently nudge them to say, hey, can I help you get connected with resources? Because when you're in crisis mode, it's really hard to navigate that system. And if they're in crisis, they might already be trying to do unemployment and then they're maybe trying to do SNAP and then they're trying to figure out their mortgage or their bills. And so if you are able to say, hey, I'd love to help you with that, like what can I do to support you. And here's a great link to help get on SNAP. Here's the hours of the food pantries in your community. Can I go pick that up for you? I think that that's a really great way that we can just be a community together and support each other.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. And last but not least, Noelle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I echo 100% that those small acts of kindness can go so far in this time. So thank you, all of you, for being here. The fact that you're staying engaged and are passionate about feeding people is already a huge step. So thank you, everyone, for the work that you're already doing. And I will again say my kind of call to action of the day, which is let's be thinking about what kinds of changes that we need in our systems, in our local policies. And as we are recovering from this crisis, we have learned so much about the weaknesses as well as the strengths of our food system. So let's all kind of own that and carry that message forward as we are rebuilding. Thank you, everyone.
Fabulous. Again, just want to say thank you so much to our wonderful presenters today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Know that we are here, we are thinking of you, and we are still a strong community. And we can't wait to be back together in person again someday. But for now, stay well, stay healthy. We'll be posting this full video on our website and social media in the near future, so watch for that. And we will probably be doing another virtual event in May. So the next First Friday is May 1st. So please watch for that as well. But with that, I will sign off and just say thank you again. Bye.